Okay, let's get a little serious. Imagine waking up one morning to a full-blown health crisis. I know it's a bit of a deja vu, but indulge me. You look at the news, nothing. The government repeats the same one line, everything is fine, nothing to look here. But you hear whispers. Hospitals are filling up, people are getting sick, yet no reporting. Nothing on news, absolute silence. How would you feel? Helpless? Worried? Perhaps scared? That's what happens when press freedom disappears. Without journalists, we the people are left completely in the dark. Let's do a quick exercise. Raise your hands if you have ever come across any news item, you could have read it, listened, heard, any of these, that has basically changed your perspective about any issue. Could be politics, personal life. Thank you. Now keep your hands raised if that has helped make you make some kind of a decision in your life. Thank you. We assume that news will always be there. But what if that very news item that you just thought about didn't really exist? What happens when information that helps us shape our decisions in life disappears? I know this firsthand. My advocacy for press freedom is not just an academic exercise. It's based on my experience for the last 16 years of having been a journalist. I've faced censorship and witnessed censorship in various news outlets in India. And you would be surprised to know I even witnessed and faced one in an American publication which was trying to branch off in India. Unfortunately, due to non-disclosure agreements, NDA, I'm unable to talk much about it. But this experience has taught me one very important reality, that press freedom is a global issue. Journalists all across the world, doesn't really matter whether they are in the United States, India, or any part of the world, are growingly being forced to either conform, self-censor, or risk retaliation. So, because this is not something that I or anyone can change overnight, I did the next best thing. I quit media, actually mainstream media, and joined the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, a global press freedom organization that defends the rights of journalists worldwide. For 6 years, I have documented attacks on press in India, exposed patterns of censorship, state-driven censorship, and advocated for the rights of journalist safety, especially as they growingly face harassment, threats, and even imprisonment. This experience has shown me firsthand how government and powerful people, how they weaponize the legal system, how they deploy surveillance, how they run online smear campaigns, and how they use violent rhetorics to intimidate journalists and silence the media. Take example of my former colleague and friend, Shahina KK. She and I worked together for quite a few years, and I still remember when she was slapped with this anti-terror charge simply for reporting on police misconduct. For the last 13 years, she has been running from pillar to post to clear her name. Or Masrat Zara, a former Knight Wallace fellow like all of us. them and me, not all of us. She has been charged again under anti-terror law, primarily for taking a photograph and posting it on her social media. Then, a few years earlier, the government even suspended and then canceled her passport, barring her from returning home. She's currently in exile here in the US. Since 2014, my research at CPJ shows at least 15 journalists are currently being investigated under the country's anti-terror law, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA, which allows for detention without bail or trial up to 6 months, and sometimes with judicial intervention that can be extended as well. Now, beyond the legal threats, digital platforms have also become a battleground in India. Censorship is almost a norm in many cases. We keep hearing it, like many parts of the country. But it's the women journalists who have now become kind of the face of this unfortunate trend. Today, with us, we have one of the bravest journalists that I have personally known, and I'm very proud to call her my friend, Neha Dikshit. Neha is an independent journalist, an investigative journalist who reports on human rights abuses in India. For years now, she has been subjected to trolling, being threatened, doxing. Few years ago, somebody even went ahead and released her phone number online, which led to a slew of messages and threatening calls. And then 3 years ago, somebody even tried to break into her apartment in New Delhi. If I can request Neha to stand up a little bit to identify herself, I'd like to applaud Neha's courage for standing up. Thank you, Neha. For standing up to this level of vitriolic and yet continuing to do her work. One of the finest journalists from India. Now, we also have seen how the usage of spyware, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of this term, Pegasus. So a few years ago, we came to know through an investigation done by Amnesty International and Citizen Lab that 40 journalists are on the list of potentially being surveilled using Pegasus spyware. So Pegasus spyware is a military-grade surveillance tool that allows authorities to access your phone without your knowledge, remote access. They can read your messages, they can track your location, they can even activate your microphones and your cameras without your knowledge. The government, of course, interestingly, the government didn't accept, didn't deny. However, Supreme Court instituted investigation found malware in some of the examined devices. Unfortunately, the court basically, let's not expand there, but the court basically decided that they're not going to release the entire report. So we don't even know whether what really happened. Beyond all of this, we also have seen financial investigations being instituted against news outlets which are critical of the government. We have seen tax raids, which, by the way, the government of India calls survey, refuses to use the word raid, into critical news outlets like News Laundry, News Minute, News Click, Dainik Bhaskar, even the BBC, by the way. And we have seen prominent journalists being thrown out or being forced out of newsrooms, and politically motivated corporations taking over independent broadcasters through hostile takeovers. Now, you might think that all of this is happening miles away somewhere else, not here in the land of First Amendment. Unfortunately, press freedom is under a lot of stress here too. Journalists are growingly facing mounting threats while reporting in the field, legal intimidation, as well as even violence. Research done by my colleague Catherine Jacobson at CPJ shows that in 2014 itself, US Press Freedom Tracker found 48 journalists were either detained or arrested in that year. That's a 50% increase in just 1 year. Political rhetorics against media has fueled public distrust, and many a times this distrust also turns into real violence. We saw this in 2018 when 5 people were killed after a newsroom, the Capital Gazette newsroom was attacked. Then, apart from the physical threat, there is also growing legal threat. 2 years ago, in 2023, the Marion County Records offices, the newsroom was raided by cops, and computers and recording devices, journalistic devices were picked up and seized, basically. So now, this is a very worrying trend. Not only journalists are being targeted on the field, they are not even safe in their newsrooms. Now, you still might think that all of this is very far away and really doesn't have any real consequences in our lives. But it does. It has real consequences even here in Ann Arbor. Let me ask you 3 questions, and I would request you to reflect upon them. Who investigates rising tuitions at the universities? Who holds landlords accountable during a housing crisis? Who reports on pollution by local industrialists? Without a free press, a vibrant free press locally, all these questions will remain unanswered. Take the example of our own Michigan Daily. It's been around for over 130, 35 years now. If you go through the archives, and I did, they've done amazing work over these years. They have reported on local student protests. They have reported on elections locally. They have reported on university politics, university scandals, university policies. However, they cannot survive without our support. Of course, we read their newspapers, we share their articles, we even donate to them. But is that enough? I would say that's not enough. We also need to stand by the rights of the journalists working at the Michigan Daily for their rights as a journalist to report and question the power that may be, whether that's at the university level or whether that's at the city council or local businesses. Let's be very clear here. Press freedom is not about left or right. It's not about pushing an agenda. It's about getting accurate information so that you can take your own decision based on that information. Without free press, everything else will be lost. Without free press, corruption will go unchecked. Without free press, human rights violation will be hidden. Without free press, misinformation will spread even more. Press freedom is not just a journalist's concern. It's the foundation on which you can take informed decisions. Now, you might ask me after this long lecture, what can we do to support press freedom or free press? Number one, before that, actually, I think I missed that line. So what I just said is press freedom is the root of all our freedoms. So in terms of my tips, in terms of what can you do to support free press? Number one, be a smart news consumer. Before you share or repost an article, pause. Check the source. Get diverse opinions. Number two, amplify independent journalism. always share credible news. Number 3, support student and local journalism, especially Michigan Daily, Michigan Public Radio. And finally, pay when you can. One of my favorite Indian news publications, the News Laundry, has this very interesting tagline. It's a little long, so bear with me. They say that when public pays, the public is served. When the advertisers pay, the advertisers are served. And when the government pays, the government is served. And to that I add, when the oligarchs pay, the oligarchs are served. So financial freedom is very much important for press freedom. At the end of the day, press freedom thrives because people like you and I care. We have the power to ensure that it lives. Press freedom is your freedom, and your freedom is precious. So let's defend it. Thank you.